The other thing we would say is, are you both able to use the same travel company? And we would
Half
say
the time.
most of the time, yes. So we work with multiple travel companies. Now since we're both physical therapists, we kind of work in their therapy department. And so our recruiter is the same recruiter, and then she goes and tries to find us 2 PT jobs. And a lot of times she's looking for, you know, uh, even if it's not at the same facility, 2 that are close, but we're going to take it through that travel company. So they
Mhm.
might even be at different facilities. Say I'm working for a hospital, you're working home health, but it's all through the same travel company. So you can definitely work
Yeah.
with the same travel company as a team.
Yeah, I think it's always worked out for us that way where one travel company has 2 jobs. But this is another reason why we do have multiple recruiters that we work with, just in case for some reason they didn't have a second one in that area. You could go talk to another recruiter and say, hey, my travel partner is looking at a job here. Is there anything that you have in the area? Now, we haven't had to do that, and I think that would take a lot more work as far as the communication between your 2 recruiters and yourselves and the interviews to set up. I think it would be a little bit more, work to do that, but it's definitely possible, and that's why you've got multiple people there on your team.
Right. There'd be a lot more communication you'd have to have with your recruiter, between your 2 recruiters. So a lot of times we try to stick with the same travel company. But that being said, if you were an interdisciplinary team, you might have to lean on that a little bit more, especially if you're like a physical therapist and a nurse.
Yeah, most of the travel recruiting companies that we use and work with have both departments. They'll have like an allied department for PT, OT, and speech, and then like a nursing side. And so those recruiters are always different, but working for the same company. So if you're like a team, like a nurse and a PT, you might have different recruiters, but still be able to work
within the same travel company.
Yep.
Not all travel companies have a nursing and therapy department, but majority of the big ones do. And they're usually pretty upfront if they're like, nope, we're therapy only, or no, we're nursing only. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a company that has both departments. You could have a therapy only travel company that you work with, and then your spouse or your significant other or friend be a nurse that works with a nursing only department. And then again, you're just going to have to have that communication between you guys and their recruiters saying like, okay, we want to be near this area. This is where the job is for my friend. I travel with my friend. Find me something close.
Yeah.
Just communication is really key.
Yeah. I think if I were trying to think of like high likelihood places to have multiple jobs, like multiple therapy jobs or interdisciplinary, I would think of cities, maybe not like city hubs, but towns that have multiple healthcare facilities in them.
Yeah, I would call them secondary cities. So,
Yeah.
everyone wants to go
to the big cities.
the big cities. Yeah, everyone wants to go to Austin, Texas. Everyone wants to go to LA, San Francisco, and there might be travel jobs there, but a lot of times it's like those secondary cities outside of San Francisco that is still really big, and they have multiple hospitals, outpatient places, skilled nursing facilities. Usually those will have multiple jobs within the same location.
Yeah. So I would say those types of places are good to look. There's always a lot of jobs in California. I feel like there's always a lot of jobs in like Pennsylvania and Virginia. I don't know, just random from experience.
It ebbs and flows for sure. And if you're a nurse, a lot of times you're going to be in the hospital primarily. And what's nice is that usually they have multiple floors you can work on, but you're still in this big hospital system because the bigger hospitals, well, any hospital is just needing nurses. And so those jobs seem to be a little bit more abundant right now. Definitely, you can use the same recruiter. I don't know. I can't remember if we went over that, but we use the same recruiter as a team. So we work with 4 different recruiters, and all 4 of them work with us. It is not just like I work with 4 and Megan works with 4. We work with 4 recruiters together. So when we get on the phone with our recruiter, it's both of us on speakerphone with that recruiter. So I think I needed to make that a little clear.
I think the next question is about contract lengths, like lining up your contract with your partner's contract.
Oh, right. Are they the same length? Is
Can
that
you get the
ever an
same start
issue?
date?
If you're a nurse and you're an allied health professional, are they the same? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So with all travel contracts, they typically start at a standard 13-week length. This is totally negotiable. It can be shorter, it can be longer, but typically that is like the default length for a contract is 13 weeks, just because that's like a business quarter or something fancy like that. um, so throughout all travel contracts, that's basically what you're going to be looking at. But the start date is something that can be negotiated when you're talking about, hey, I would love to come here. I would love to start at this date. Or if one person is able to start earlier than the other, you could extend the other person's,
Right. You could negotiate your end date to where you and your friend who you're traveling with both end at the same time or start at the same time. So those
Yeah.
start dates and end dates are negotiable. That negotiation usually happens after you've done your interview with the facility. They're like, yes, we would like you to take this job. And then you're really considering it, but you got to work out those contract details. That's when you work out those contract details with your recruiter on, hey, I can get there at this time with my friend.
And usually that's always been approved. Like if you are interviewing for a place that needs somebody ASAP, obviously they want you as soon as possible. So you can't be pushing your date back by weeks and weeks and weeks. But that's something you kind of go into the interview knowing. But we've never had issues with like figuring out a start date that works for us.
Right. Yeah. Usually they're very lenient, again, within a time frame that's respectful to them. And so we've never been like, well, we'll start in 2 months when my friend can get there. It's always been, hey, we might not see you next week, but the following week we're going to be there on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
And so negotiate that. That's always really good, which, so you can line up so you can travel with a friend or with your significant other.